For eons, the universe belonged to the Titans, colossal, ancient civilizations that spanned millions of years and ruled the stars with unchallenged dominion. The Virith, insectoid overlords with planets for hatcheries. The Ulzarii, beings of living plasma who manipulated solar flares like an artist wielding a brush. The Igoth, cyclopean juggernauts who crushed moons for resources. Among them, humanity was an anomaly, a species from a small, unremarkable world, barely noticed by the galactic hierarchy. Until they made themselves impossible to ignore. When humanity finally cracked the secret of faster-than-light travel, they burst into the galaxy like an explosion in a quiet room. They did not crawl through the stars as other fledgling species had. They did not beg for guidance or submit to the rule of their colossal predecessors. They surged outward in every direction, claiming territory with a speed that stunned the great empires. At first, the giants laughed. A new species expanding recklessly? How quaint! How predictable! How fleeting! The Igoth, the self-proclaimed enforcers of order, were the first to intervene. They descended upon the newly settled human colonies, intending to do as they always had, either force vassalage or erase the upstarts entirely. When the first Igoth armada arrived at the human colony of New Titan, they did not expect resistance. They were wrong. The humans didn't fight like the older species. They didn't engage in slow, predictable fleet battles. They didn't posture or negotiate. The moment the Igoth dreadnoughts entered orbit, human warships, smaller, sleeker, and vastly outnumbered, struck like a storm. They moved faster than anything the Igoth had ever encountered, weaving through defenses with unnatural precision. They anticipated every counterattack, every maneuver. The Igoth learned, too late, that human ships were not just fast, they were intelligent. AI-assisted piloting, predictive algorithms, and a battlefield adaptability that defied everything the Titans had come to expect from lesser species. The first battle ended with the Igoth fleet in ruins. Humanity had not just resisted. They had hunted. Whispers spread through the galactic hierarchy. Who were these creatures who defied the Titans? The Virith sent spies. The Ulzarii observed from their distant stars. The Igoth reeled from their humiliation. And humanity? They prepared for war. The giants had never encountered a species that struck back with such ferocity, such cunning. They did not yet understand the fundamental truth that made humanity unlike any species before them. The giants had ruled for millions of years. Humanity had spent all of its history fighting. And they were just getting started. The Igoth did not take their humiliation lightly. Their doctrine was built on absolute dominance. Never before had a lesser species defied them and lived. In their minds, the humans were not warriors. They were vermin who had gotten lucky. And the only response to infestation was extermination. Within months, the Igoth marshaled the largest fleet they had assembled in millennia. Thousands of world-breaking warships, their hulls forged in the dying hearts of neutron stars, their weapons capable of boiling oceans and silencing entire biospheres. The message was clear: humanity would either kneel or be wiped from existence. But humanity was already ahead of them. The moment New Titan had been attacked, Earth's leaders had realized the truth: this was not a war for survival. This was a war for dominance. The galaxy had its rules, and if humanity wanted to exist on its own terms, it would have to break them. Every human colony became a fortress. Every shipyard operated without pause. Every scientific mind was pushed to the brink of innovation. Humanity had never been the strongest species, nor the most advanced, but it was the most adaptive. And then there was the mind of humanity itself. While the Igoth amassed their lumbering war machine, humanity did what it did best: outthink, outmaneuver, outcreate. They didn't just build warships, they created an entirely new doctrine of warfare. Swarm fleets, AI-enhanced drone waves, quantum-coordinated strike teams. Their ships were fast, small, and, most importantly, disposable. While the Igoth relied on a handful of indomitable warships, humanity fielded a storm. The war began when the Igoth armada entered the Sol system, expecting a direct battle. Instead, they found nothing. No defenses. No fleet. Just a quiet, empty system. They advanced cautiously, believing humanity had fled. Then their ships started dying. The first to go were the sensor arrays. 1,000 scout drones, invisible to IGOTH scanners, dismantled them before they could detect the attack. Then, the supply ships exploded, their fuel igniting in calculated chain reactions. Before the IGOTH could react, their own command ships began reporting critical system failures, hull breaches, reactor meltdowns, AI corruption. It was only then they realized what was happening. Humanity hadn't abandoned Sol. They had mined it. Not with explosives, but with an entire network of hidden, autonomous war machines. Self-replicating cyber warfare, AI-controlled harbingers of chaos. The IGOTH fleet, so used to brute force, was suddenly drowning in an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't predict, and couldn't fight. By the time the first human warships revealed themselves, the IGOTH armada was already in chaos. Their greatest fleet, assembled to remind the galaxy of their dominance, was torn apart before they ever fired a shot. It was the first true defeat of a galactic giant in recorded history. And the war had only begun. The destruction of the IGOTH armada sent shockwaves through the galactic hierarchy. For the first time in recorded history, one of the ancient giants had been defeated. Not by another ancient power, not by a rebellion, but by a species so young they were barely considered sentient by galactic standards. The Virith broods trembled in their hive cities. The Ulzarii burned through their own archives, desperately searching for some forgotten precedent to explain what had happened. Even the ancient and unknowable Kthari, who had watched the galaxy rise and fall for eons, turned their ever-seeing eyes toward humanity. But humanity wasn't finished. The war had proven one thing beyond doubt: humanity would not wait for the old powers to accept them. If they were to survive, they had to ascend. And ascension, in this galaxy, could only be taken, not granted. ### the retaliation. The IGOTH, humiliated and desperate, sent out a call to the other Titans. They framed humanity as a threat to order, an anomaly that had to be corrected. The galactic giants had warred amongst themselves for ages, but now they had a common enemy. It should have been the end of humanity. Instead, it was the beginning of their dominance. The IGOTH mustered what remained of their forces, allying with the Virith and the Ulzarii. Their combined armada was a sight unseen for over 1,000,000 years, a fleet so vast it blotted out the stars. But humanity had no intention of meeting them in open combat. While the Titans prepared their invasion, humanity struck first. Their spies, thought impossible to exist among the giants, unleashed chaos. Virith broodqueens assassinated in their own chambers. Ulzarii stars cracked apart by precisely timed energy disruptions. IGOTH war factories sabotaged with such surgical precision that entire planets collapsed into firestorms. And then the final blow came, *the Eater's Fall Star. ### the death of a Titan. For eons, the IGOTH homeworld, Gorashtal, had never known war. Its defenses were absolute, its walls unbreakable. No species had ever dared to challenge the beating heart of the IGOTH Empire. Humanity did more than challenge it. They erased it. A fleet of human stealth ships, equipped with planet cracker warheads, slipped past the IGOTH defenses. By the time the alarm was raised, it was already over. Gorashtal's surface split apart in a cataclysm of engineered destruction. Its core destabilized, its atmosphere ignited, and its entire structure collapsed into itself. The IGOTH Empire, one of the oldest in the galaxy, was gone. ### the turning point. The remaining Titans faltered. They had assumed humanity's resistance was desperation. Now, they saw the truth. This was not a species fighting to survive. This was a species rising to power. Some, like the Virith, surrendered outright. Others, like the Ulzarii, withdrew in silence, unwilling to risk their own destruction. The few that remained were shattered, their fleets broken, their empires crumbling. And humanity? They did not ask for peace. They did not wait for treaties. They took their place at the top. The old order had fallen. And in its place, humanity ascended. The fall of the Igoth was not just the death of an empire, it was the end of an era. The galaxy had been ruled by giants for so long that no one had ever questioned their authority. They were vast, ancient, and seemingly eternal. But humanity had shattered that illusion. The galaxy now belonged to them. But victory was not enough. Conquering was one thing, ruling was another. Reshaping the galactic order. Humanity did not repeat the mistakes of the Titans. The Igoth, Virith, and Ulzarii had ruled through fear, stagnation, and brute force, believing that their might alone was enough to keep the galaxy in check. It was this arrogance that had left them vulnerable. Humanity had no intention of making the same error. Instead of ruling through oppression, they introduced something new, integration star. They didn't just conquer planets. They absorbed them. Every world they took, every species they defeated, became part of something greater. Humanity offered choice: join their rising empire and thrive, or resist and be left behind. Many chose to join. The Virith broods, leaderless after their queens had been assassinated, accepted human oversight in exchange for stability. The Ulzarii, who had always seen themselves as the galaxy's intellectual elite, were given a place in humanity's technological development, so long as they obeyed the new order. Even the broken remnants of the Igoth found themselves integrated, repurposed into a warrior caste under human command. Those who resisted? They simply disappeared. The power of human innovation. With the galaxy under their control, humanity did what they did best, they built star. New hyperlanes connected distant worlds, allowing travel and trade at speeds no species had ever imagined. Terraforming technology reshaped barren rocks into lush, habitable paradises. AI-driven governance streamlined planetary economies, eliminating inefficiencies that had plagued the old empires for millennia. And at the heart of it all, humanity continued to evolve. The first generations of cyber-augmented humans became the architects of a new civilization. Genetic enhancements, AI symbiosis, and quantum consciousness research propelled them beyond even their own limits. Humanity was no longer just a species. They were becoming something more. But with every great rise, there were those who wished to see it fall. The whisper of rebellion. Not all were content with the new order. Deep within the lawless voids of the Outer Rim, whispers of an uprising began to spread. Remnants of the old giants, those who had escaped humanity's grasp, were gathering. The Cthari, the last of the ancient powers, had remained silent during the war. But now, they stirred. Watching. Waiting. And then came the rumors of something beyond even the giants. A force lurking in the unknown regions. Something that even the ancient titans had feared. Something that was now watching humanity. The age of humanity had begun. But the real test was yet to come. For a time, the galaxy flourished under humanity's rule. The old empires had fallen, and in their place, a new civilization arose, one defined by innovation, adaptability, and relentless ambition. The scars of war were healed with technology and diplomacy, and even those who had once been enemies found themselves thriving under human governance. But in the depths of uncharted space, something ancient stirred. The forgotten warning. The Cthari had always remained distant, watching from the fringes of the known galaxy. Unlike the Igoth or the Virith, they had never sought conquest, nor had they been challenged by humanity. Their empire had stood untouched for millions of years, shrouded in mystery. But now, for the first time in recorded history, the Cthari spoke. A transmission, sent directly to the leaders of the Terran Dominion, arrived without warning. The message was simple. You were not the first to rise. You are not the first to rule. And if you do not prepare, you will not be the last to fall. At first, humanity dismissed the warning. The Kthari were old and reclusive, perhaps jealous, perhaps fearful of their new overlords. But then the disappearances began. ####The vanishing worlds. Entire colonies, wiped from existence. No distress signals, no debris, no trace of a struggle. One day, a world was thriving. The next, it was an empty husk. Humanity had faced war, had battled the greatest titans of the known galaxy, but this was something different. There were no fleets to fight, no enemies to outmaneuver. Only silence. Recon teams sent to investigate never returned. AI surveillance systems, immune to biological fear, captured only fragmented images, shifting shadows that defied logic, patterns in the void that seemed to move with intention. Then, a single transmission was recovered from the last ship to disappear. A desperate voice, choked with static, whispering 3 words before the signal cut out. Asterisk, they are here. Asterisk. #### The return of the architects. Humanity had always believed itself to be the new rulers of the galaxy. What they failed to realize was that the galaxy had been ruled long before the Titans. Before the Igoth, before the Kthari, before any known civilization had carved its name into the stars, there had been the architects. And they were coming back. The Kthari, bound by ancient oaths, revealed the truth. Millions of years ago, the architects had shaped the galaxy itself. They were not conquerors. They were not civilizations. They were forces. Entities that did not expand, but culled. They had built the hyperlanes, the structure of the cosmos itself, only to wipe out any species that grew too large, too bold. Every titan that had once ruled had unknowingly played a game with rules they did not understand. When their time came, they were erased. Now, it was humanity's turn. #### The fight against the inevitable. But humanity had never accepted fate. The Kthari urged retreat, to flee to the depths of unknown space and hide, as they had done for millions of years. But humanity had not fought and bled to build an empire just to run. If the architects had come to end them, then, for the first time in history, humanity would force the architects to fight for it. The age of humanity had been declared. Now, they would prove if they truly deserved it. The first true battle between humanity and the architects was not one of fleets or firepower, it was one of survival itself. The architects did not announce their arrival. They did not make demands or offer terms. They simply began. Entire sectors of space went dark. Planets that had stood for millennia crumbled into dust. Fleets vanished as if they had never existed. The architects did not fight wars, they enacted extinction. But for the first time in the history of the galaxy, the culling did not go unanswered. Humanity fought back. #### The unknowable enemy. The first challenge was understanding what the architects truly were. They did not use ships as humanity did. They did not rely on technology in any form the known galaxy could recognize. They existed as vast, living anomalies, shifting structures of impossible geometry, their forms flickering between reality and something beyond it. Human weapons, no matter how advanced, barely left a mark. Kinetic rounds passed through them like mist. Energy weapons simply unraveled before impact. Even their smallest forms, horrifying drones of shifting matter, could tear through entire fleets with ease. The battle seemed hopeless. But humanity did not understand defeat. #### The final strategy. The brightest minds of the Terran Dominion worked without rest, analyzing every engagement, every piece of data. There had to be a pattern, a weakness star. And then, they found it. The architects did not think like other species. They were not driven by war, by emotion, by greed. They were an ancient system, a cosmic mechanism set to eliminate those who grew too far, too fast. They were predictable. And humanity had always been best at one thing, breaking the rules of the game star. If the architects culled civilizations that became too advanced, then humanity would evolve beyond their understanding. ###The last stand at Orion's gate. At the edge of known space, in the Orion expanse, humanity made its final stand. The architects had gathered in overwhelming force, their vast forms blotting out the stars. Every remaining fleet, every soldier, every mind was gathered in one last effort to do the impossible, to kill the unkillable. The key was not destruction, it was disruption. Using the stolen knowledge of the Kthari and the forbidden sciences of the Ulzarii, humanity created something new, the first paradox engine A weapon not of force, but of logic, a device that introduced chaos into the architect's perfect, structured reality. When the battle began, it was as brutal as expected. Humanity's forces burned, entire fleets vanishing in moments. But the paradox engine activated. And the architects began to fail. Their perfect structure fractured. Their forms flickered and twisted, unable to maintain coherence in the presence of true unpredictability. The once unstoppable force began to collapse under its own existence. And then, for the first time in countless eons, an architect died. The others faltered. They hesitated. And in that moment, humanity did what it had always done best. They attacked. ###the dawn of a new age. The war did not end in a single battle. The architects, though wounded, still remained a force beyond comprehension. But for the first time, they had encountered something that had never existed before, a species that refused to be cold star. The war raged on, but the tide had shifted. The galaxy no longer feared the architects as gods. Because humanity had proven that gods could bleed. The age of humanity was no longer a question. It was a reality. The war against the architects did not end in a single moment, nor with a single victory. It was a war of attrition against an enemy that had never lost before. They were the great balancers of the cosmos, the hidden executioners of civilizations that grew too ambitious. But humanity had done what no species before them had managed. They had survived. And now, they intended to win. ###the final battle, the crucible of oblivion. Through stolen knowledge, desperate innovation, and sheer human defiance, the Terran Dominion had developed weapons that could wound the architects. But wounding them was not enough. The only way to stop the cycle of extinction was to end it forever. Through captured architect data, ripped from dying entities during previous engagements, human scientists discovered something shocking: the architects had a source. A single origin point, deep in the galactic core. A world? A machine? A mind? No one knew. What they did know was this: if the architects had a beginning, then they could have an end. The full might of humanity gathered for one final assault. Every remaining fleet, every allied species, every weapon, every mind, this was the last gamble. They called it the crucible of oblivion, for if they failed, there would be nothing left. The architects responded in kind. Never before had such a force been seen. The very fabric of space trembled as the entities gathered. The final battle was not just fought with weapons, but with reality itself. Entire moons shattered under the weight of combat, stars burned out as weapons beyond mortal comprehension were unleashed. The paradox engines, humanity's greatest creation, ripped apart the order the architects relied on. The once invincible entities began to falter, their perfect forms breaking apart as chaos infected them. And then, the final strike was delivered. A coalition of human super-AIs and post-human warriors led the last charge, plunging into the heart of the architect's source. And in that moment, humanity did what it had always done. It changed the rules. With a final, impossible act, a weapon, a thought, a paradox beyond even the architect's understanding the source collapsed. And the architects fell. ###the new era, humanity ascendant. The war was over. For the first time in the history of the galaxy, the cycle of extinction had been broken. The old titans had fallen. The architects were gone. And standing alone at the top of the cosmic hierarchy was humanity. But they did not become tyrants. They did not repeat the mistakes of those who came before. Instead, they did what they had always done, they built star. The galaxy was no longer ruled by fear, but by something new, possibility. With the power once wielded by gods, humanity reshaped the stars. Entire worlds were reborn. Dead civilizations were restored. The knowledge of the architects was turned from destruction to creation. And as humanity expanded beyond even the limits of the known galaxy, one undeniable truth became clear. The universe had been full of giants. And humanity had become greater than them all.